Welcome everyone to Reel Me In: a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. It's kind of like when you're a little kid and you get the chicken pox and you didn't really ask for it. So technically, I just compared my show to the chicken pox. So anyways, this is a podcast where I basically talk about anything, everything, and well, anything about movies. I'm your host, Chase Lee, and let's get this week started. This week, I'm going to go with sequels, and the reason why is because I saw Hunger Games Catching Fire on Monday, it was, and I really, really liked it, way more than the first one. And keep in mind, I'm one of those guys that actually liked the first one. I thought the first one was good. I wasn't like in love with it, but I was like, you know what? For a young adult novel, this was dark. It was perfect in every sense of the word for that type of book. I thought it was like really well done. But the sequel kicked its ass so much that I was actually sitting there going, why didn't they just make it the first one like this? Like, seriously, the second one had better cinematography. The acting was like a step up. Like Josh Hutcherson, never really liked him in the first one, but you know, he was really good in the first or second one. Sorry, but the first one, he was okay. I've never been a fan of Liam Hemsworth. I mean, he was okay in the second one. He still hasn't really won me over, but overall, everyone did a fantastic job. The music was great. The tone was beautiful. The colors just like were dark and grim. The world felt bigger than the first one. The Hunger Games sequel is one of those things to where it's better than the first one. So that basically pretty much was a jumping off point for my show, and I was like, let's just talk about sequels. There's good ones, there's some bad ones, there's actually sequels that I wish that Hollywood would make. So let's get this started. Let's start with the good sequels. You know, let's kind of did you hear my voice just cracked there? Let's start with the good ones. All right, so for the good sequels, let's face it, there's a lot of them, and it's hard to narrow down. But I'm gonna go ahead and just go down, you know, the list, and you know, just kind of like pitch them to you guys and see what you guys think. When I was a kid, I pretty much loved comedies, and I loved superhero movies. Like when I was young, I saw Blade for the first time, and then when I saw Blade 2, I thought the sequel was a lot better. When I saw X-Men back in the day when I was, 10 years old, I saw the sequel, X-Men 2 United, or X-Men United, and that was a fantastic sequel. It's just something when you watch it in theaters and you stand up and you leave going, hell yeah, America. That was a great ass sequel. You forget about the first one almost. It's like, wait a minute, there was a first one? Because the second one was so damn good that you forget that this is a sequel and it's not, you know, the first one. A couple others I have to mention. Looking at my list here, I apologize for that. Another sequel that really, really struck a chord with me was Back to the Future 2. And yeah, I'm probably going to open up the gateway to opinions and just people bashing me, but I've always said that the second Back to the Future is better than the first. It just is. The sequel to me adds so much more, like, you know, time travel and the way it's done, and I like how they go back to the first one, how they still continue it. It's like a future, past, and present movie. It just works, and to me, it just felt more exciting than the first one. I guess that's the right word for it. It just felt more exciting and just fun overall. And I remember back in the day as a kid, like watching the Back to the Future movies, and I watched all three, you know, back to back, and I gotta tell you, like, Back to the Future 2 was just, it just blew me away. You know, as a kid, I was just like, wow, this is really cool. And then to this day, I watched it like, you know, a couple months ago, and it was fantastic. And yeah, I still love the first one, but the second one, in my opinion, it just exceeds the original. Going back to comic books, SpiderMan 2, the Sam Raimi one. When the first Spider-Man came out, everyone was super excited because it was like the first Spider-Man to ever hit like live action screen, and it's from the director of Evil Dead. When people looked at that, I'm pretty sure they were a little confused, like I was. I was like, wait a minute, the director of Evil Dead, one of the most gory films of all time, is doing Spider-Man? I'm down for that. So when Spider-Man came out, it was good. I like Tobey Maguire. I mean, he was okay. I like the Amazing Spider-Man better, but back to the original Spider-Man. When Spider-Man 2 came out, it upped the level in action. It upped the level in humor, story, villain, Peter Parker, and, Mary Jane, and just everything about it was just like a step up. And I remember seeing Spider-Man 2 going, huh, there was a first one. Like, it's insane to me how some of the sequels will be better than the original, but that's not a bad thing. I love sequels that progress story. I've always said that sequels are necessary if, like, you find a way to expand the story. And yes, if they're from adaptations like books and stuff, then that's very, very possible that they're most likely going to be a sequel. But you still have to be pretty good at it. But my philosophy in sequels are, I hate Hollywood and how they cash grab everything. I really wish they could just make good sequels like the ones I'm mentioning now. And, I know they do it for the money. They always do it for the money, but it's nice to see a good one, knowing that, hey, maybe they do it for the art and not just want to wipe a $100 bill on their ass every night when they go to sleep. That made no sense, but carrying on. Some of the other sequels for me, let's go to animation for a second. Animated movies are really, really popular with the youngsters, and most likely, if it makes enough money, it warrants a sequel. Well, when I was really thinking about it, there is a lot of animation sequels, but there is a trilogy that pretty much started when I was 5 years old and ended when I was, came out in 2010, so 20, dear God. That would be the Toy Story trilogy and the sequels after that. I gotta tell you, Toy Story 2 blew the first one away. It just blew it in terms of like story and they blew each other. Did you guys catch that? Anyways, when the Toy Story 2 it just elevated the first one in terms of emotional connection with the characters, which are essentially plastic toys. Like, if you really think about it, they are plastic fucking toys. When the third one came out, I nearly cried at the end. They were toys. Because the third one was better than 2 and 1. I've never seen a trilogy like that where like each movie outweighs another in animation. Because there's been many animated sequels, but like this, the whole trilogy is just fantastic. Like, each sequel ups the other. Toy Story 3. I'm about to cry now. Moving on. Let's go to the sci-fi realm. Back in the day when Alien came out, it was a sci-fi horror movie that no one's really seen before, and it really connected with audiences. And it was directed by Ridley Scott. When the second one came out, it was directed by good old Titanic, James Cameron, and he directed Aliens. This was one of the best Alien sequels. It is the best Alien sequel. The level of action that was upped from the first one was ridiculous on all levels. But you have to admit to yourself that you had so much fun with Aliens, and it's a complete departure from the first one in terms of tone, but it works. And I think in that regard, that's one of the best sequels ever made. It just is. Bleeding into this sequel, which is a sequel to one of the best sci-fi films ever made, and that would be The Terminator. Now, I have always said with people that Terminator is a great movie. It is. But the sequel is downright amazing. It is a near perfect action movie. If people want to make action movies like in the film industry, watch Terminator 2. And you're going to completely just know how to make an action movie. That's basically how to put it. T2, or known as Terminator 2 Judgment Day, it just... James Cameron did that one too, by the way. So for all those Avatar and Titanic haters, guess what? He made some good ones. I like Titanic and Avatar as well, but it's besides the point. Judgment Day was just fantastic. The action was, up. The special effects. It won for special effects, and those special effects for that time were just downright amazing. And the story progression of the Terminator saga was just great. So those were some sequels that are really great. And, there's some obvious ones out there that, I'm not going to mention because they're everyone's favorite. Like, for instance, Empire Strikes Back. Duh. It's Star Wars. People are going to like Star Wars. And if you ask people, they really like Empire Strikes Back. Like a lot more. And it does have a lot more twist in it, like the infamous ending. And a lot more just character and story development. That's why it makes it so good. I think that's the key to sequels, Hollywood. You have to progress the story. It has to make sense. And you have to have the audience care about the characters. You have to put them in danger. You have to do all that. You have to up the stakes. That's what sequels are for. And all these ones I mentioned, they do that. They up the ante every single time, putting the main characters at risk. I am so sick and tired of Hollywood fucking around and making sequels just for a cash grab. That's fantastic. I realize that you're a business. I'm fully aware of that, and I endorse that. But you have to put the art behind it too, okay? Just stop it. Stop it, Hollywood. All right. And another sequel that's, on everyone's list is The Dark Knight. Come on. That's one of the best, best Batman movie ever made. Hands down. And besides Brokeback Mountain, it's one of Heath Ledger's best performances. Actually, those two are like tied for me. So those are like some obvious ones, but like the ones I mentioned before, like kind of ones I personally enjoyed as sequels. All right, you guys ready? You guys ready for the shit piles? All right. So bad sequels. How do you guys want me to do this? You want me to just kind of list them and just bullet point like why I hate them, or just whatever. I'm looking at my list and they're just all terrible. The first one I put on here, believe it or not, was Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. I am a fan of Michael Bay. There, I said it. Come and shoot me with your pitchforks and your torches. Michael Bay, to me, creates fun. He does. But he does create misfires most of the time. One being Transformers 2. You cannot have a Transformers movie with a testicle joke in there. You can't have some random human looking up at a Transformer and going, hey, nice ball sack, whatever the hell the line was. You can't do that, Michael Bay, okay? That's not the time nor the place for any franchise to be doing that, okay? Terrible sequel. Next one. Paranormal Activity 4. I love the first three. I'm actually endorsing the first three. I think it's a great story. But the fourth one completely shit the bed, and they think they can just have everything up until the last second and scare you with something stupid and then just expect you to know that they're going to make more. That's so dumb. It was like an empty vessel for a movie and then just led to a terrible cliffhanger, and now they're making a fifth one. I'll still go see it, but I still don't like it. Another previous one was Iron Man 3. Listen, Marvel, if you're going to make a movie after the Avengers, let me tell you something. Don't fuck it up. If you're going to make a movie and have some random twist in there like it did, remember, I don't spoil anything for you guys. Iron Man 3 had one of the worst twists I've ever seen. It completely threw me off. It is not what Marvel does. Shane Black, I love you. I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's a very underrated movie in my opinion. But Iron Man 3, suck the nut. Please go away. I love Thor 2 though. It's a great start to Phase 2. But Iron Man 3, just that twist just ruined it for me. So stop that. Next one. I remember when I was in 8th grade, I saw The Ring 2. I love the first Ring. It's one of my favorite horror movies of my lifetime. The second Ring was god-awful. I remember walking out of there, and I looked to the person next to me. Never met the person in my life. And I was like, did you really like that movie? And the guy was like, no, man. That was some terrible stuff. Didn't even know the guy, and we connected right away. Took him out on a date later after that. No, I'm just kidding with you guys. So when okay, next one. I'm gonna go with Blair Witch 2. This has got to be one of the most disappointing, upsetting sequels I have ever seen. The first Blair Witch, fantastic. I actually really liked the first Blair Witch. It scared the crap out of me. As a teenager, I never wanted to go in the woods and search creepy, dirty, rusty, hepatitis C-filled houses ever again. But the sequel was not found footage. It was a real movie. It was shot in like a real movie. And it was just awful. Awful. The story was ridiculous. The acting was bad. Everything about it was just like reeked of dog turd. And Okay, next one to go into my little rant. Son of the Mask. Listen, let me tell you something. If you make a movie with Jim Carrey, don't do the sequel with Jamie Kennedy, someone that no one even remembers. Okay? You got it? Okay, so when you make the first one and it's a success, don't you think you should make the sequel with Jim Carrey? And that's it. Don't make the sequel without him because that's stupid. Son of the Mask was the most disappointing thing I have seen in probably when I was like a young kid. Jamie Kennedy should not be making movies. I'm sorry, but he is terrible. He is not a good actor, and he's not funny. And Son of the Mask just proves it. It was like a stamp of shit on his resume as one of the worst movies he's ever done. And he's done a lot of bad movies. Okay? Next one. This, my friends, tops the list for me. American Psycho is one of the best movies I've ever seen, period. Christian Bale is a creepy mother F who just kills people. And is a very well done satire, dark comedy of sorts. The sequel, American Psycho 2, An All-American Girl. I want you to let that title sink in for just a second. That was the title of the sequel to the cult hit American Psycho. I saw the first 15 minutes and shut it off. There you go. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, now that I got my steam out of my mouth from all the bad sequels, let's talk about wishful sequels. And this, I mean, movies that basically I've been wanting to see sequels to for a very long time. Well, let's go down the list. South Park 2 is one of the most anticipated sequels I have been waiting for. I don't know if it's ever going to get made. Trey Parker, Matt Stone said I don't know if they really want to make it, but South Park was one of the funniest movies I've ever seen as a kid. It's one of the funniest movies of all time for me. This sequel needs to get made. Please, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I really want to see that. Inception 2. I know a lot of people have mixed reviews of Inception, but I thought the first Inception was great, and I think Christopher Nolan can completely expand on that universe, and that's all I have to say about that. The Incredibles 2. This has got to be one of the most requested sequels in Pixar history. You want to make Cars 2, but you don't want to make The Incredibles 2. Yeah, granted, I think they made Cars 2 because, one, it sells toys, and two, John Lasseter, the head of Pixar, that was like his childhood dream was cars and stuff, and so that's why he wanted to make it. But please, for the love of God, Pixar, make Incredibles 2. Incredibles was such a gem. I enjoy that movie a lot, and it's one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. Okay, if I had to put it in top 5, I would. Like, it's just that good, and you need to make a sequel. Let's see, for another one, I'd have to go with Cloverfield 2. I am one of those guys that actually enjoyed the first Cloverfield, and I think you can really expand on it. Don't know how. J.J. Abrams, I know you're doing Star Wars, but make Cloverfield 2. I think it will at least make me happy. The Mist 2. The Mist 2. The ending of The Mist was one of the most disturbing, as in the emotional thing that the main character had to go through. It's just fantastic, and I think a sequel would be really interesting. To be honest with you, I don't think it would ever get made, but it'd be very interesting. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World 2. I walked out of the first Scott Pilgrim going, you know what? That was fantastic. And when I realized it was directed by the guy who did Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and written by the guy who did Project X and 21 Jump Street, the one from last year, it's a very well done movie. In terms of editing, special effects, best of that year, hands down. And I really think, since it's based off of an adaptation, that you can really expand it, and I think it'd be really fun, but unfortunately did not make that much money. So, yeah. Let's see. Another sequel that I wish would happen is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Now, I know they made that Honda commercial, and if it's a different car commercial, correct me. But the Honda commercial gave me hope that there would be a sequel. Yes, now granted, Matthew Broderick has gray hairs, and I'm sure they are. The gray hairs are made from Sarah Jessica Parker probably yelling at him every night. because he just... Sorry, Matthew, but you kind of look like a puss to me. So if they make the sequel to that, I will be super happy. The first one is fantastic. It's a classic John Hughes movie. And if they made the sequel, I mean, come on. Make it to where like he's, working or he's about to retire. Well, I guess that wouldn't make any sense. But like have him at his job and he just hates it. And like he just wants to go take a day off again. I think everyone would really like that. So there you go, guys. There's my rant / awesome picks for sequels. Sorry, I don't know what the hell that was. What are some of your favorite sequels, or what are some of the worst sequels you've ever seen? Comment in that place this rope below my face and let me know. I would really like to see you guys' results. So let's get to the movies that came out this week. We have the Goliath, Hunger Games Catching Fire. We have Vince Vaughn's probably funny and unfunny at the same time, Delivery Man. And we have the very underrated Philomena, which I actually saw. And if Philomena, it stars Judi Dench and Steve Coogan. If it is playing in your area, please go see that. It's a very underrated movie. And my review will be up on my channel, should be within the next week or so. The box office for this week, Hunger Games Catching Fire, number one, obvious, at $160 million. Dear God, it completely deserves it, though. We have Thor 2, The Dark World, $14 million. That thing just keeps on climbing, and I'm really glad Marvel is getting money for it, because they deserve it. I'm a nerd. I'm a comic book nerd. I can't wait to see the future of it. The third is Best Man Holiday at $12 million. That thing just keeps making money for some weird reason. Delivery Man came in fourth place with $8 million. Sorry, Vince Vaughn. Take a break for a while. The fifth one is Freebirds, and that thing is still trucking along, and it is at $5 million. And I don't even think it's made $50 million yet, so whoops. So that's your box office for the weekend. The DVDs that came out this week are The World's End, a very, very funny movie done by Edgar Wright. It is part of the Cornetto trilogy of Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. I really enjoyed it, and so did my roommate. Planes, Disney movie. Speaking of sequels, that's been greenlit for a sequel. We're the Millers came out, and I hear that's going to be greenlit for a sequel as well. Two Guns came out. Didn't see it. Sorry. I didn't see We're the Millers either. Paranoia, the movie that's got like 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's got to be the most embarrassing rating for Harrison Ford I've ever seen. And Liam Hemsworth stars in it, so once you're done with the Hunger Games, kiddo, you should probably go be in your older brother's movies, because apparently he's doing okay with Thor over there. And the to-do list. I saw the to-do list with a very, very beautiful blonde woman, and we really enjoyed it. And if you can't really decide what to see in your Redbox when you're looking through your Redbox, I would suggest the to-do list. It's written and directed by Bill Hader's wife, actually, and it's really funny. It's a comedy about a young woman trying to lose her virginity before college and trying to just do every sexual act possible to get experience. And I really enjoyed it. The woman I took really enjoyed it. So coming from a male and a female, that one's got a thumbs up. So I would highly suggest to go rent that one. And that's basically it, guys. That is episode 2 of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where we talked about pretty much every single sequel, within the 30-minute time frame. I know there's time left, but, you guys want to hear me rant a little bit more? Well, you're going to get it anyways. I was looking at my list, and there's a couple other bad ones that I was thinking of. Batman Forever. George Clooney and bat nipples and butt plates. There you go. I don't need to say any more. And plus, Arnold Schwarzenegger had the most puns in a movie I've ever seen in my life. Freeze. You're as cold as ice. I don't fucking know what the lines were. They're just terrible. Blues Brothers 2000. Oh my God. The first Blues Brothers was actually pretty good. And Blues Brothers 2000 just completely just like ripped its intestines out and completely just choked the first movie with it. It was an unneeded sequel, and it felt like something that should have gone either straight to DVD or, hey, here's a thought, never been made. Another one is Staying Alive. You're probably thinking, what in the hell is that? Staying Alive is actually the sequel to Saturday Night Fever. Do I need to say more? Terrible sequel. Well, that's all I had on my list for rants, so hope you guys enjoyed the rants. So, yeah, anyways, like I said before, that wraps it up. And I am Chase Lee, and if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's www.com, or .com, that's stupid. I'm an idiot. Facebook.com/Real Reviews with Chase Lee. Twitter is @RealChaseLee, and YouTube is youtube.com/Shabutnik75, capital SHBOOTNIK 75 as in the number. I am Chase Lee, and tune in next week for the third episode of Reel Me In, the movie podcast. And I'm going to see you guys later. Enjoy your Sunday.